Hi everyone, Elizabeth Smith here. In this video, I'm going to show you how I block my Audrey's cardigan design. My preferred way of blocking is wet blocking because I find it really relaxes the stitches and just gives your garment a really finished look to it. Now it can be a little scary the first time you do it, but hopefully this video showing me block in action will take some of the mystery out of the process. Now, like many things in knitting, there's lots of different methods and techniques for blocking. In this video, I'm going to show you the method that I like to use that I find works best for me. So let's head to the other room and do some blocking. Here is my setup for the soaking. I have a large plastic cement mixing tray that I love to use for soaking my garments. You can pick one of these up at Home Depot or your local hardware store, but you can really use anything that you can submerge your garment into to soak it. You can even just fill up the bathtub a bit, or if you don't have a tub, your sink can work well too. Or if you have like a large basin or a really large bowl or something like that. Now the first step is I put a little wool wash in. I'm using the Eucalyptus here, which I like because it's rinse-free, and I just sort of eyeball it and put a little bit in there. And then I just sort of stick my hand in and, move it around a little bit. The next step is to take your sweater and submerge it. This is the scary part, but it'll be okay. So you're going to want to put it into the water and just make sure that all parts of it get soaked. Just be really gentle as you move the sweater around and as you sort of dip it into the water. Once you feel like it's all submerged and wet, you're going to want to set a timer for 15 minutes. So it's going to soak for about 15 minutes. And I always find it's helpful to set a timer because often in the past I've forgotten before. So make sure to set that timer. Now, while you wait, you can get your blocking area set up. I'm a big fan of blocking tiles, so I have them set up here on a bed, but you can also just put them directly on the floor. I also get my pins ready to go, my tape measure, and my schematic page that I can refer to. Also, make sure to grab some towels and have them ready by the area that you're soaking your sweater. So I usually put 2 large towels ready to go right next to the tub. Okay, so it's been 15 minutes. It's go time. So step 1, gather your garment into one clump and gently bring it out of the water while at the same time pressing it against the side of the bathtub or the sink. So see how I'm taking that clump and I'm just gently applying pressure. And the goal here is to just get as much water out as possible. And I find that using that pressure against the side of the tub really helps to get like a big bulk of the water out. But just be very gentle and make sure that you're holding everything in one clump. You don't want any dangling parts because that could really stretch out the fiber a bit. Okay, so once you've done that, then bring it down onto your towels. Now I kind of leave it in a clump like that and I roll it in the towel and then I apply pressure, just as you see right here. I'm just pressing the water out as much as possible. And then I'll move the sweater a little bit and then roll it again on the drier side of the towel. And as you can see here, I'm just rolling it and then applying pressure gently. The goal is that before you move the sweater onto the blocking tiles, that it's damp, that it's not wet. The more wet the garment is, the more likely it's going to stretch considerably on the blocking tiles. Some fibers will grow more than others. Right now I'm using a superwash yarn, so I know that it will have a tendency to stretch if it's really wet. So that's why I'm making sure to really get as much water out as possible. Okay, so once I feel like, okay, I'm touching the garment and it really just feels damp, I'm gonna gather it again in one clump and I'm going to carry it over to my blocking tiles. So let's head on over. Okay, so once you place it on your blocking tiles, you're gonna want to start to gently mold the sweater into shape. And I stress the word gently. You don't want to be stretching anything out too much. You really want to be making some, gentle, slow movements with the sweater. So usually at first I try to get my sleeves sort of situated and going in the right direction, and then get the bottom of the sweater sort of lined up. And because this is a cardigan, I want to get my front bands kind of going in the right direction. As you can see, I'm just slowly molding it to shape here. And again, just make, not stretching anything too aggressively. Now, if you felt that your sweater came out a little bit smaller than you wanted to, you can, what they call it, blocking aggressively. So you could always use this opportunity to really stretch out your fibers if you wanted to actually block your sweater a little bit bigger. So as you can see, I'm just gently starting to shape. So as I'm shaping here, it's starting to actually start to resemble a sweater again. Now, one important thing to start to do once you sort of have it in the general shape of a sweater again is you want to start measuring it. So as you can see, I just measured the width to make sure that it was in line with what it should be. This is size 2, which has a finished chest circumference of 35 inches. So it should measure about 17.5 inches across, which I measured and I was close. So I just needed to stretch it just a little bit. And then I also checked the length to make sure that it was about in line with what the schematic said or what I was hoping for my finish length to be. And because it has front bands that I really want to make sure kind of stay in place during the drying process, I use my pins just in the button band area. I don't pin really anything else down. You can pin it different parts of the sweater if you would like, but I find that I really just needed it for the front bands. Then I do just another final measurement after I put those pins. So the bust is looking good and I'm feeling like it's all shaped and looking all right. I can now walk away and just wait for my sweater to dry. So one tip I have, if you're a little impatient, like I often am with my blocking process, is you can set up a fan and aim it directly at your blocking tiles, at your wet garment, and it will dry in at least half the time. It's just a little tip that I've learned along the way when I need to block faster. And depending on your climate too, especially if you live in a more humid area, it definitely could take a little bit longer to block. So having a fan set up and directly aimed at it will definitely speed up that drying process. Well, I hope seeing this video has helped to demystify the blocking process a little bit. And like many things in knitting, the more you do it, the more comfortable that you're going to get, and the more familiar you're going to be with how different fibers might block differently. And in case you're curious, here is my blocked Audrey's cardigan, all dry. And as you can see, the edges are really nice and straight, and it just has a nice finished look to it. Just need to add the buttons. Now, if you have any questions or if you have any blocking tips that have worked well for you, I'd love to hear. So feel free to reach out. Happy blocking!